No, you're not watching the World Darts Championship, sadly. You're watching the Data Explorers Market Update with me, Will Duff Gordon. So today, let's talk about the super luxury companies, because we're close to the season of largesse. We have gold, frankincense and myrrh still in our minds, and we have Roman Abramovich's party in the French Caribbean, St Barts. I wasn't invited, I hope you weren't either, for a place he's bought for 65 million recently. So let's stop worrying about the will they, won't they spend scenario around the consumers, who are a very capricious lot, because it's all rather difficult to work out how well Target and Barnes and Noble and Bed Bath and Beyond and all these companies are going to do. What's a lot easier to do is to follow the people who've got so much money they don't know what to do with it, and that is the super rich. So let's look at a company like Sotheby's, because Sotheby's is the auction house. They have a near duopoly with Christie's, and Sotheby's is a listed company with a sort of overhang of short selling. It's about 6%, or it's about 5%, down from about 7 or 8% a few months ago. So some people still think Sotheby's is in a bit of trouble. It does have a fairly traditional business model, shall we say, but disintermediation and the middleman pressure does not seem to be affecting auction houses. They sold, for instance, a vast amount of wine in Hong Kong alone last year. Something like, was it $50 million worth? They're selling a huge modern art sales, are doing incredibly well. Net analysts are uplifting their forecast for Sotheby's, and Sotheby's is trading on a relatively modest 19 times forward earnings. I'm getting out of my comfort zone here, but basically, if people continue to buy expensive and one-off objects, they can only do it through a big auction house, and they should do pretty well. Sotheby's has also been reducing its debt, and only has about $450 million of debt outstanding. So, interesting one. We can also see that the institutional investors whose inventory we can track, they recently bought quite a few more shares in Sotheby's, and they own collectively about 33% of Sotheby's, which, stay with me, puts them in the top decile in terms of their most popular choices in the kind of US mid-cap zone. We should also talk about Porsche. Okay, they may have phenomenal sports cars, maybe more to you and I than to the really super rich, although we've got to talk about Porsche because the 10 hedge funds who were trying to basically bring proceedings against Porsche for sort of manipulating the share price of Volkswagen failed just the other day. So therefore that court case has been thrown out, clearing the way for Porsche and Volkswagen to merge and form a super new car company. Well, Volkswagen's already an amazing car company, but when Porsche joins it, adds a new dimension. Short interest is fairly boring in Porsche. No one's going to near this zone, and not surprising. We should also talk about LVMH, because they surprised the market with their holdings in Hermes before Christmas. Interestingly, institutional investors have been selling their shares in Hermes. Is this profit taking, or is there something else going on here? Short selling in LVMH is not particularly interesting. And from LVMH, I'm going to go to a little company that some of you may or may not have heard of, called Mulberry, quite well known in the UK. They make outstanding handbags and leather goods. Their shares have actually doubled since November. It's a small company, only a £500 or £600 million market cap over what's going on there. Clearly, there's a bit of luxury in the air, which is good news. So I'm sorry I haven't covered all luxury companies, but often covering this sector, I thought this was an interesting thing to look at, the Sotheby's situation. So that is it for today. You can read my report at dataexplorers.com/news.